Welcome to Second Table, where we discuss spirituality, philosophy, and psychology. I'm your host, Winston Janis. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Second Table podcast. Thanks for joining me once again. It's just me today, no guests. And actually, I have an announcement to make, and this is going to be the last episode of Season 1 of the Second Table podcast. I wasn't originally planning on having Season 1, Season 2, and I was just going to keep going, right? But this seems like a good place to mark an end to Season 1 of the podcast, because for those of you who maybe have been listening from the beginning, I don't know how many of you out there are loyal listeners that have heard every episode, but you might have heard that I had been looking for a position as a pastor, job search, and working towards getting ordained as a United Church of Christ pastor. And so I finally found a position. I technically still have to be voted into the congregation, but it's looking like I'm going to become the associate pastor of Peace Church, which is out in Rochester, Minnesota. And right now we're in the Boston area. So my family and we're going to be moving halfway across the country. Seems like this is the perfect time to be moving halfway across the country and going through a major life transition and starting a new job. Global pandemic, riots in the streets. Oh, gosh. It's kind of like the ultimate test for somebody who struggles with anxiety, right? But I'm really excited about the future and feeling good at the moment, even though sometimes I'm freaking out about everything. But it's going to be an adventure. And so I just wanted to let you all know about that news, and also to say that this is probably a good time to take a break from recording the podcast. Although I do want to say, for all you listeners, that this is not the end of the Second Table podcast, and I anticipate that there's going to be great things coming, big things, and that Season 2, although I can't say exactly when we're going to launch Season 2, that it's going to be hopefully even bigger and better than Season 1. Although really starting this project has been so much fun, and I've enjoyed every minute of doing this podcast. It's an awesome hobby to have. I have felt so blessed and fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to have the conversations that I've had with so many interesting and cool people. So I'm hoping that journey is just going to continue, and we're going to keep having great conversations and creating more content. So be on the lookout for whenever I'm able to start getting Season 2 going. But I'm going to have to take a break because of all the transition, and we're going to be on the road. We're going to be visiting family members, and trying to survive whatever the environment is out there. And we've been pretty much cooped up in our apartment and haven't been getting out of the house much since this all started. So it's going to be a really interesting change of pace to be, in just total transition and staying in hotels and Airbnbs and family members. And then, we've never even been to Minnesota. And now we're going to be calling it home. So, really excited, really happy about it. I think it's going to be a great fit for me and the congregation. And so, in the midst of all this, what can I say? It reminds me so much of when the coronavirus situation first started, and I was just glued to the news 24/7, just felt like I had to know what's going on right now and being aware of what's happening. And then, in a way, I think everyone sort of got tired of being in panic mode, and things are starting to open up now, and And it's becoming, although it's not normal, it's a strange kind of new normal, if you know what I mean. And now it's the same thing with the protests. I feel like I just can't stop checking the news and seeing everything that's going on. Is just, there's almost no words to describe what we're seeing now in the world, in our country, in the news. So I think that in the midst of all this, wherever you are, I think it's important to also take time to step away from the news and center and ground oneself, because while I do believe it is important to stay informed and to be aware of what's going on, and in many cases for many people to get involved and see what can be done to help, what can be done in these circumstances to help advance the cause of racial justice in our communities. We also have to remember it can take a toll on us to be constantly flooded by all of the information and all of the videos and all the things that are coming at us from the news. All of this can be extremely anxiety provoking. So just remember self-care. Remember what are the things that you need to do, connecting with loved ones, with family and friends, taking a break from the news, having a mindfulness practice. When I worked as a therapist, I was always teaching my clients about how they can use mindfulness techniques, just coming back to the present moment and having compassion for yourself, remembering that it's okay to be afraid, to feel anxious, to feel stressed out, to grieve over what's happening, to cry, to experience the sadness and not repress it, to feel the anger. We're going through a really difficult time right now. So whatever your practice is, prayer, meditation, yoga, going for walks, whatever you need to do right now to stay sane, I think is important. And I came across this, one of my favorite teachers is Jack Cornfield. And I want to share with you something that he posted regarding the current situation that I really resonated with, and I want to pass that on to you now. He writes, amidst the pandemic, the continuing racism and political divisiveness, and the ongoing targeting of people of color, we must deliberately turn toward the difficulties of the world and shine the light of awareness and compassion. The enemy, said my teacher Ajahn Chah, is delusion. Delusion blames others, creates enemies, and fosters separation. The truth is that we are not separate. War, racism, economic injustice, and the climate crisis all stem from the illusion of separateness. We can also see that no amount of material and scientific advancement will solve our biggest problems. The truth is these problems all arise in the human heart. Justice and economic and political renewal will fail unless we find a way to help people see our common humanity, our inseparable interconnection, and awaken a shared responsibility and a shared compassion for all. This is what we most need to stand up for in this troubled world. Martin Luther King Jr. said, I still believe that standing up for the unarmed truth is the greatest thing in the world. This is the end of life. The end of life is not to achieve pleasure and avoid pain. The end of life is to do the will of God, come what may. These words describe the moral clarity and power that comes when we step out of delusion and stand up for the truth. We must remember to see the common humanity that is in all of us. We share one planet. We're all one people. We are not separate. And to me, that's one of the underlying messages. As he's saying, all of this stems from one root, finding a bad guy to blame, scapegoating, feeling that certain people are not human, that certain people are lesser or inferior or the enemy. The reality is that delusion is the enemy. not being able to see that each one of us is a human being, is a child of God. We have to connect with our sense of compassion. And I think if we can follow that, it's not going to steer us wrong. Whether that compassion drives us to protest, to help others, to serve our community, compassion is the thing that has driven all the great teachers and healers in the world. Jesus, Martin Luther King Jr., and so many others. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next week or the week after that, but I am praying that some good will come of this and that we'll find a way to be better together. I look forward to more conversations with you in the future. Stay safe out there. God bless. And once again, thanks for listening.